Humor in documentation. It's really hard. It's very debated. It's a nice breaker that gives a little levity when somebody probably is tired, frustrated, and
Are there any clear signs that your documentation might gotten messy or is becoming unmanageable?
well-organized docs usually should be as close as possible to the mental model of the audience that
How do you decide what to keep, what to archive, and or merge when it comes to reorganizing?
what really matters in the long run, and these are the things that really are big wins from the point of view of a documentarian.
What processes do you think will help prevent documents from slipping back into an unmanageable one?
So we have introduced the concept of Docathons, which is basically a couple of days where
Welcome to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Welcome everyone to Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Our guest today is Marco Spinello, Senior Technical Writer at Booking.com. Hi Marco, how are you doing today?
Hi, Gauri. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to participate in this podcast, which I usually use as a listener. I'm doing great. And how about you?
Fantastic. Yeah, pleasure to have you. And 15 years of experience. Just talk me through how did you start this journey? What made you to choose this as your career path? And then we'll dig a little bit deep into your current experiences.
Okay, thank you. I started by chance. It's one of the options that technical writers have to start their career. I come from a previous career as a technical translator, where I used to translate software from English into Italian, so products from companies such as Adobe or Microsoft. I would translate the user interface into Italian, test the user interface, and also translate all the documentation. Over time, I started writing small guides and how-tos for internal usage at the company where I worked. And little by little, I noticed that I prefer to write my own stuff rather than translate somebody else's stuff. So I started looking around and I found an entry-level job that got me started into the this new episode of my career. And so far so good. I really like it. I'm not looking back with regret or anything. I'm just looking forward with curiosity.
Fantastic. So well done to you, and
Thank you.
very nice to hear the such a lovely story. Now, when we say it's a well organized dogs, what do you actually mean?
Okay, I give the standard answer that most technical writers would probably give it, which is it depends. It depends on the audience. Well-organized docs usually should be as close as possible to the mental model of the audience that consumes it. For example, now I happen to be in a project that aims at merging multiple scattered documentation sites into one more consistent and easier to consume documentation site. And one of the questions was indeed how do we organize it? What defines well organized as opposed to a mess? To do that, we did user research. I'm very lucky because I write I write internal documentation. My audience is mainly designers and engineers, and they are reachable because they are my colleagues. So it was a privilege and incredibly easy to organize user focused sessions, a panel conversations, and have all that preparatory series of activities to understand how the audience that I serve see and consume the documentation. So in this context, the definition of well-organized was based on the outcomes of this research. And mainly, we identified their pain points, why they couldn't find what they wanted to find, and what mental model worked for them. How in practice, I try to never impose my own mental model and my own idea of well organized. I try to understand what they perceive as structured and organized, and then this definition will inform the structure and information architecture of the documentation.
Great. Now, are there any clear signs that your documentation might gotten messy or is becoming unmanageable?
Oh yes, even if it's internal documentation, we have a very open contribution model. Everyone can open a PR and contribute to the documentation to update or to rectify information. Over time, things get a little bit out of hand. We don't have many technical writers, but we have many contributors, and we're very happy to have them. So we want to encourage them to contribute with as little friction as possible. This
Mm-hmm.
means that to favor collaboration and contribution, we are a little bit lenient on the guidelines. You don't need to do all the checks. You don't need to make sure that everything is perfect. And so sometimes there is the time to control and review properly, and sometimes just we don't have the time because we have other priorities. This approach, which is probably very common in companies that are small and large, mm, generates an organic growth where style becomes inconsistent, where the way to, for example, describe a procedure with steps is maybe extremely clear to the author, but is absolutely obscure and cryptic to everybody else. And where you have documentation that hasn't been touched in months or years and has gone out of, has become obsolete. And also collaborators who don't really do any research before starting writing, so they don't check if that information is already present, and so they tend to duplicate, and then you have documentation drift where you don't have a single source of truth anymore. These are all little flags. I wouldn't say red flags, but they are yellow flags, yellow and orange flags
Yeah.
that give you signals that you need to do a little bit of gardening to gather this content and make it more well, better structured and easier to find and digest.
Understand. Now, you didn't explain about how you make everybody becoming a collaborative part in creating contents and bringing everyone's responsibility for creating contents. But thinking aloud, I think that also brings a little bit of chaos, right? Like they all having different
Mhm.
styles and the contents might not be uniform across the board. Now, what processes do you think will help prevent documents from slipping back into an unmanageable one after the cleanup?
Yes, let's say hypothetically, let's start from indeed, as you mentioned, a cleanup situation where everything is spick and span and shiny and ordered.
Mm,
Over time, entropy, which is how our universe works, creeps in and start messing things up a little bit. Um, I would say that ways in which the tech writers try to create documentation awareness among our colleagues, and our colleagues can be engineers, product people, designers, etc. We post blog articles internally. We organize workshops. We do little demos. Engineers love hackathons. So
mhm.
we have introduced the concept of Docathons, which is basically a couple of days where a group of people, multiple teams, and it can be engineering teams, it can be designer teams, it doesn't matter, but they will have a focus on improving the documentation corpus that they own. We have run a few. We have a playbook that is very basic, but it gives you all the tools and the structure that you need to run a Docathon. The results are encouraging. Besides cleaning up the documentation, what really matters in the long run, and these are the things that really are big wins from the point of view of a documentarian are that your users become more aware of the documentation pains, and they become more aware of how they can also mitigate them besides simply just flagging them. Oh, these docs are wrong. Also, something that I do very honestly and very frankly, when people come to me and they say, this is wrong. I say, well, fix it. Yes. Say, but I don't know how to do it. I said, you are my SME. If I have to fix it myself, I first have to come to you to understand how this thing works. You already know the whole thing, and you know that there is an issue. Go ahead and fix it. Open a PR. It doesn't need to be fantastic. It just needs to be correct. And
Mhm.
then make sure that you assign a technical writer as a reviewer, and they will make sure that the style is compliant with our house rules, our home style, that we run all the checks that we're supposed to run, and that the documentation that is published actually complies with our definition of this is good docs.
Great, nice to know. I really like the word docathon. Thank you.
I stole it. Yeah. This is something that I think I stole it from Write the Docs. It was something that happened in the Write the Docs community.
Okay, okay,
So
nice.
please use it as much as you can, because it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to spread it to my team now.
Yes.
Yeah, can't leave the conversation without talking about AI. So, do you see AI, the future where AI not only assists but also proactively prevents docs from becoming messy?
Yes, with mixed results. We are, like everybody else, we're also tinkering with AI with mixed results. And one of the things that it can do is AI can generate documentation drafts based on a context that you can inject in the context window, basically. It can help review existing documentation, for example, to spot any gaps in a procedure, or to spot any inaccuracies. And it can help you. It can notify you by saying, "Hey, actually, the code has been updated, but the docs are
Mm,
out of sync." Um, it's something that is kind of working, but not always right now.
okay.
Um, yeah, either we are doing everything wrong, and everybody else on LinkedIn has amazing results when they post their amazing achievements with AI. But I think that the actual state of things is more in the middle, where we're using AI a lot to help us or to enhance our processes. And sometimes there's no time to look at it with a critical eye, or there's too much faith in the powers that AI can bring to improve a process or to improve documentation. For example, if you want to check just the freshness of documentation, you could start. You could even consider not using AI, but just start with a cron job that
Mhm.
checks the timestamps of the published documentation every 3 months or every 6 months, and then produces an automated email or a Slack message to the person that owns the document, or even better, to the team that owns it. In my experience, it's always better to set teams as owners of documentation, because people come and go, and team have a slightly longer shelf life, let's say, in a corporate context.
All right. I think my next question is somewhat relevant to what we are talking now is how do you decide what to keep, what to archive and or merge when it comes to reorganizing?
Okay. Well, the easiest thing, you use analytics. For example, if you see pages that have very few views in the last 6 months, in the last year, you may consider two things.
Mhm.
One, the page is really useful and it's up to date. 100% sure about it, but it's so hidden, it's so nested in the documentation that people don't find it. So that content is not discoverable.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could also review the content. Either you judge it yourself because you're familiar with the content in question, or you liaise with an SME to validate the quality and the freshness of the content. And in that case, if you or the SME decide that that page is old, you can flag it for archival and then deletion. So few views, pages that haven't been touched or updated in more than 12 months are good indicators easy indicators of documentation that can be archived and purged. Also, if you have the luxury of reaching out to your audience, ask them. You can, for example, isolate a small set. Be always very specific in your asks to your audience. Otherwise, you just overload them with too much stuff to decide about. But I have these 3 articles, and they still current, and are they still relevant? If they say no, flag them for archival. I don't say immediate deletion. If you can, archive them first, keep them there for, I don't know, 6 months, and then delete them.
Nice one. So moving on to the rapid fire round, Marco,
Yes.
please share some valuable resources you have come across recently that will be of great value to the audience.
Well, the Write the Docs community, always. That is my lighthouse. They have a very active Slack community. They have conferences in the US and in Europe. I think also in India. And they have chapters in Africa, in Kenya, I think, and in Nigeria. Unfortunately, the Australian conference will not be held this year, but the community is incredibly active and supportive. So I would definitely recommend that. And then, the usual blogs, the usual suspects. I
Yeah.
follow Tom Johnson,
Yeah.
Sarah Moore, Fabrizio, Fede Benedetti, and a few tech writers that I follow on LinkedIn. I try to minimize, let's say, the amount of noise that I get from social media. So I
Mm-hmm.
focus only on the people that I know usually have something valuable to share when they share a post.
Great.
And I recently bought Doctor's Test by Manny Silva because
Okay.
so that's the next book I'm gonna pick up for reading. I'm a little bit behind, and I'm really looking forward to start reading that book.
All right. Thank you so much. That's a lot of resources to take away.
Yes.
Now, one word that comes to your mind when I say documentation.
Um, Well, I would write it as a word, which is can't find it, which is what most users tell you. It doesn't matter how much you order and structure and how much you think you have made your documentation discoverable. That's always users say, can't find it.
Can
And it can be frustrating initially. You have the right to feel frustrated for 30 seconds. But then, compose yourself, count until 5, and ask why, which is one of the most powerful words in English. Um, you
Okay.
always ask why.
Yeah.
And usually they can help you find out why they couldn't find that thing. It was in the wrong category. The tagging was incorrect, or it was too nested, as I mentioned earlier. So that is really the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about documentation.
Okay. That's brilliant. Can't find it.
Can't find it.
Now, a piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
You're not the only person in the world that has imposter syndrome. We all have it. Every time I talk or write or chat with other fellow tech writers, also with software engineers that, in my opinion, are absolutely stellar and amazing human beings and incredibly competent. They all have imposter syndrome. They all say, "Oh no, I just fly by the seat of my pants." What? Are you sure? I wish I'd known that when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, I think we managed to grab some of your experiences and
Mm.
thought processes in this field. But as I mentioned, you've got ample years of experience as a technical writer. But if there's anything I have missed, please feel free to add now, Marco.
Um, the last thing, humor in documentation. It's really hard. It's very
Mhm.
debated. I'm not a serious person, honestly. I'm professional, I'm competent, but I'm not serious. So I use Easter eggs in my documentation.
Okay.
Uh, I usually I hide links to memes or GIFs from Giphy hidden in little piece of documentation, which is usually punctuation. I use a comma or a full stop as a hyperlink. And when some of my users find them, they really like them. Of
Okay.
course, it's all silly stuff, but it's a nice breaker that gives a little levity when somebody probably is tired, frustrated, and trying to find a solution to a problem they're tackling.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, wow. That's another nice tip. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Corey.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure talking to you, Marco. I don't know how the time went, but yeah,
It
so many.
flew. It flew by.
Yeah. So many good things to take away, and thank you so much for all the resources you highlighted in this chat. I can only wish you all the very best for the current project and whatever you're planning to do in the future. So let's stay in touch and have a good day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Corey, for having me. And I'll keep following the Knowledge Base Ninjas. It's a great podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the guests, in fact. Take care.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.